5 in the morning, dark highway, and my 1969 Chevelle running smooth. The faster that car went, the better it drove. I was spacing out, not paying attention, and then suddenly red and blue lights in my rearview mirror. And I thought, ooh, a sucker's being busted. And so I moved over to let the cop pass, and he followed me to the right. And kind of surprised me. So I moved over one more lane so he could pass, and he followed again. Then I realized, well, I guess I'm the sucker getting busted. And to find out, I was doing 35 miles over the speed limit. And he just informed me that he could take me to jail. And, I did get a ticket that day, but it wasn't for 35 over. But he did add a stern warning with it not to do it again, which I didn't. And, years later, I got another warning when my business revenue doubled in 1 year. So today I'm going to tell you why not all growth is good. And this is chapter 11, Flashing Red Lights, from my book, Business is a Journey, Not a Destination, and this journey is your life. So let me tell you the full Chevelle story because details matter. About 25 years ago, I restored a 1969 Chevrolet Chevelle. It had a freshly painted dark green body, white Super Sport badges on it, light green interior. It had a suspension upgrade. It was the polyurethane bushings. And the motor was mildly overhauled with a RV cam in it. I had an exhaust that boldly announced its presence. The motor wasn't radical, but it was fresh and strong. So between the suspension upgrades and the mildly built motor, the faster that car went, the better it drove. So one day on the way to work, I found myself in the fast lane as usual, spacing out, not paying attention, listening to music. 5 in the morning, there's not a ton of traffic on the highway. And I had a nice 25-minute drive, to think about the day, to listen to music and just kind of enjoy the quietness. And suddenly there was flashing red and blue lights in my rearview mirror. And I actually chuckled and said, oh, a sucker is busted. They're going to have a bad day. So I moved over a lane to let the cop pass, but that cop car followed. Staring in my rearview mirror in amazement, I moved over to the right again, and he followed again. And then that's when I realized I was the sucker getting busted. I was the one that's going to get pulled over. I was the one that's going to have a bad day. And I didn't realize I was even speeding because I never even looked at the speedometer. And, when the policeman asked me if he knew how fast I was going, I honestly didn't know. Like I said, that car, it ran smooth and very well the faster it went. Well, to find out, I was doing 35 over the speed limit. And he just told me he could take me to jail as he walks away with my license. So, he's there at his car and he comes back with a speeding ticket. But he showed a lot of grace and, just wrote it that I was doing, I think, 22 miles over the speed limit. And he saved me from a free ride in the cop car and from my car getting impounded. And, he added a stern warning with it to watch my speed. And, I'd say that's a warning I needed because I never paid attention to my speed. I just drove. So there are times that a warning in life is needed. And I've been on destructive paths before, and you probably have too. But thankfully, someone's seen it, maybe gave a warning or mentioned it, just where it opens your eyes and you see to get off that destructive path. In your business, graciously accept coaching and guidance from others who see you headed in the wrong way. A lot of times, depending on your industry, people don't want to help you because they'd rather see you fail. But hopefully you're surrounded by people who want to see you win also. Yeah, but it's not going to be pleasant to hear, but it's vital to learn about the truth so you can fix the problem. Before I had a turnkey system in place with my business, I began to grow too quickly. Revenue actually doubled in 1 year. And this is when I found out that not all growth was good growth. It's like having a steady diet of chocolate cupcakes or Twinkies. Your waistline will grow, but that's not good growth. The business was out of control. I did not know my numbers well enough for bidding purposes, and because of that, I was getting more and more business, but it was not profitable jobs, because as the business gets bigger, it consumes more, and I didn't take that into account. And, on top of that, not having systems in place, basically to guide the new influx of customers and even the employees I had to hire. At that time, I think I was up to 15 or 16 employees. And the business quickly began to crumble. More money than I've ever seen before started to come in. But it was flying out quicker than, it was a quicker rate than it was coming in. I remember every 2 weeks for payroll, I'd have all this money coming in, and I was struggling to make payroll. And it was just buying everything and the insurance going up. It was nuts how much money was coming in and how much was going out and how little was sticking. But thankfully, I had some coaching to help me identify the issues. This warning was needed. Otherwise, the business would have definitely sunk. And, I might not have achieved what I have today. So though the flashing red lights might be painful, might bring a bad day, accept them, learn from them. They might bring a good story. You might become popular at parties now with all the good stories you have. So here's what I need you to hear. When you see flashing red lights in your business, in your life, don't ignore them. Don't get defensive. Don't say I'm fine. Hey, look, revenue's up. Everything looks good. The officer who pulled me over at 5 a.m., he showed me grace. He could have taken me to jail, could have impounded my Chevelle. Instead, he wrote the ticket for, say, 20 over instead of the 35. It was a warning that I desperately needed. The coach who told me my business was out of control when the revenue was doubling, same thing. Showed me grace by speaking truth. It was painful. He could have watched me crash and burn, but instead he identified the issue, helped me fix them before the business sank. So not all growth is good growth. Eating Twinkies will increase your waistline, but that is not good growth. Revenue means nothing if you don't know your numbers. More customers mean nothing if they're unprofitable. So growing fast means nothing if you have no systems to handle it. If someone in your life right now is trying to give you a warning, a coach, a mentor, a spouse, a business partner, listen to them. Don't defend, don't justify, just listen. They see something you can't see because you're too close to it. Everything's moving too fast. You're spacing out like it's 5 a.m. You're in a rut. You're just pushing forward. Those flashing red lights are painful, and they might bring a bad day, but they're saving you from serious consequences. So in chapter 12, we're going to talk about what to do after you received a warning, how to course correct, how to rebuild systems, turn chaos into controlled forward growth, because warnings are useless if you don't act on them. So drop a comment. What warning did you ignore? What did it cost you? Or what warning did you accept that saved you? Let's learn from each other. Subscribe for chapter 12. Accept the warnings, learn from them. They might just save your business. The journey is your life. When you see flashing red lights, slow down, pay attention. So I'll see you in chapter 12. Thanks for watching.